Perfect.
Yay. All right. We're going to get this party started. I'm so excited. I'm really happy to be seeing you and talking to you. It's always been too long.
It's nice, right?
Yeah. So, okay, let's get this started. I am Stacy Tiro, and this is Changed for the Better.
I'm Stacy Tiro, a high school performing arts teacher for over 25 years. I've taught a lot of amazing people. Now that so many of my students are adults, they'll teach me how, through the lessons in my classroom, they have been changed for the better.
As you may or may not know, this is going to be 10 questions that I ask everybody who comes on this little podcast thingy. And I want to get your impressions on what you learned when you were in the studio, through thespians, and how you carried that all through with you to your now adulthood. So we'll start with question number 1, a very simple one. Tell me your name, the year you graduated, and what you're doing with yourself right now.
So my name is Elijah Fremont. I graduated Spring Valley High School in spring of 2015.
Very good year.
I would, right? And now I work in a restaurant in West Nyack. My brother opened up a restaurant. It's always been a dream of his to open a restaurant of his own. And so I've been working with him and helping him as best as I can, even just to, be a part of him achieving that something that he's always wanted to do for such a long time. It's been really special. And so that's what I've been doing as of late.
You're such a good brother.
Oh, no way. I'm just glad to know him, love him, my brother,
And this is James?
This is JP, yep.
I actually, I had James many, many years before you came into my classroom. And every once in a while we reconnect, I think at your graduation party and a couple other places throughout time. It's nice to see the old guard.
Yeah, of course.
That's what kind of restaurant is it?
It's a soul food restaurant. So Southern fried chicken, cornbread, mac and cheese, potato salad, all of the, Southern staples. And then sometimes we do little specials,
Any vegan stuff? Because I know that you're a vegan.
Oh, no. Actually, Tiro, I didn't tell you I'm not vegan anymore. Welcome back, right? Finally.
What happened?
So, oh man, I think at this point now it's been I want to say 4.5 months.
Oh my God.
And I don't know, maybe this will segue into the questions. Maybe it won't. I don't even know if it'll be related. I'm just gonna whatever.
Yeah.
But so as you know, for a long time, I was really heavy into veganism. Mostly for the health aspects of it, not really the ethical or environmental aspects of it so much. But what I found at the time when I was, when I had begun considering eating meat again, it was really much more about deeper questions that I had about, my life and understanding and, what is this life and where are we going? And all these different questions that I had answered. And then at that point, I looked and I said, man, wow, when I thought about going vegan, it was really much deeper questions about, of course, health and well-being. Mm-hmm. But, as I learned, your diet is, one component. Of course, there's, your mental health, there's, relationship, your faith, or whatever sense of spirituality that people may have. All different types of components that go into what your diet might be. But at that point, I had, okay, I'm done. And that's when I decided to
bring back the meat.
Wings and all. Wings and all.
Okay,
You know?
I appreciate it either way,
Uh,
whatever
of
nourishes
course.
us. That's, I think, the most important thing. That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I'm happy.
Okay, so let's look back a little bit,
Sure.
and I want you to use your adult brain
Hmm.
to describe your adolescent self.
Okay. So I would say my adolescent self was stubborn, I would say. In a good way for some cases, and then in other cases, I wouldn't listen. Um, or I wouldn't be willing to listen in times where I would say like I should have been, like more open to listen, especially from elders at the time.
Mhm.
Um, I was very zealous and eager to do new things. I think I still am in some way. Um, I was very eager to just do a bunch of different things,
Mhm.
but I think I was like exploring, searching.
Mhm.
Um, and then of course, as far as it came to like school and, education,
Mhm.
it was just always like I really just wanted to do a lot and do everything really well, which was it's kind of like, like 100 miles per hour all the time, every day, which then as I learned, of course, through like so many different experiences, like started to see like what was meaningful and then what wasn't. And then of course, growing into more of an adult sort of, then I began to understand, thankfully, like some of those things.
Right. And
Um,
we're gonna talk a little bit more about that change, that transition. So we'll
Perfect.
kind of like keep that in the forefront.
Nice.
Okay. So stubborn
Mm,
and wanting to do new things, wanting challenges, wanting to be great at things,
yes.
which I remember that because in so many of the projects that we worked on together, there was always that like there was like kind of a sort of a searching aspect. Like you always wanted to look a little deeper. You always wanted a little bit to know a little bit more about whatever it was. And, so Elijah was our Tony in West Side Story. And I mean, I don't want to say that it was a stretch, save for, you did a couple of shows, with us from your sophomore year. Oh, no, you did your freshman year. You were in Footloose that first year, right? So to take, that kind of iconic role in that iconic show, I thought it was a blessed event. That was, I think, a stretch for all of us, like every single one of us. And we needed to dig in really deep to the show and the ideas behind it, in order to be the best version of us in that. And so Elijah was really instrumental in taking sort of a leadership role in that. And he and Manny, best friends then, playing best friends, and Manny and I were actually talking about it in our interview, and that fateful Saturday when when Elijah accidentally punched him in the face.
No. Oh.
We talked about that. It's very funny. Okay, so let's
Oh boy. That's
the
funny.
resultant tirade that came out. Okay, so let's go to question 3. So what was something that you can remember that happened in the studio that helped you to manage or to regulate your adolescent self?
It's a great question. I think one of the things that was pretty cool that happened in the studio over the course of a few years as well is as we went from our freshman year into our senior year, all the different productions that we did, what happened is we had this group of friends that really started to like mold and form over that period of time. Even, people who originally wouldn't have been interested in doing theater productions at all. Maybe they tried it out, they auditioned, many got roles and, came in like that. I think having that group of friends at the time helped me understand not only, of course, the production and things like that, but it helped me feel like a sense of a family. And that like helped me like being a part of that family, like on the stage and then like outside of school we would always hang out. We were a very close-knit group. That helped me a lot as well, having friends to talk to. And I know like me, myself, Dion, Dwayne, Manny, we would always get together, Kinsley as well. We would like play Monopoly and like have our time, guy time. And then we would be on stage, of course, and then in rehearsals, and then that sort of like bond would carry on, and then it would help on stage as well. But most definitely that relationship of being in Thespians helped me deal with my problems and struggles at the time because of the relationships that were able to form from it. So I think that's the best thing like about how it helped me manage myself at the time.
Yeah, that sense of family always, like every year when we do senior powwow at the end of the year, that thing always, that concept always comes out. It's not just socialization, with your peers, exactly, but it's like that integration and formation of a family from people who wouldn't necessarily ever be in the same circle.
Yep.
Like I feel like with theater, we kind of pluck people from the hallways and from wherever you come here. And then in the end, because we're working on this common, it's not just a common goal, but like a much bigger picture than, anything that any one of us could do individually. Yeah. And that create for such a long time too. I mean, like a production is like 3 whole months of like every single day after school, come on, let's do this. And, we're just kind of beating everything to death, but together. Yeah. Yeah. And that, I mean, you guys, listen, we've had a lot of great classes and everything, but there was something very, very large and very cohesive about that class of 2015. I think all of my colleagues we all say the same thing. Best class, 2015. Hands down.
Really cool.
So you are a part of that. Question 4. What are some of the lessons that you learned in the studio that you think about or use today?
So I would say the component definitely has to do with like when we perform different roles and different characters, we have to go through like a mindset change. And then we also have to go through like a behavior change, even if it's just for a moment in order to do that character, but then when you think about, our daily lives today, like a certain mindset, certain character, like begets a certain result even in your life, and that goes for, your relationships, that goes for your work, that goes for, whatever goals you set forward. If you look at, the mindset and the character, whatever those traits and those habits are that you are doing, you kind of have to like, like self-evaluate and then, become like aware of like, what kind of character are you putting on, So, going into like a rehearsal, of course, at the time, we had whatever we were doing, exams, college applications if we were juniors or seniors, and then relationships like this person's boyfriend to that person's to girlfriend to whoever, right? So we're like all that high school stuff. Yeah.
It's distracting.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, okay, so you come into the studio, you come into the dance room or on stage if we're getting closer to the show. And all of that's going on, you kind of have to put it off, not that that's and what ended up happening every time, of course. But as far as like the lesson that I've learned now is like for wherever I want to end up in life, there has like the character has to match where you're going in life. And it's like we have like a choice to play a part in our character, our behavior, like what kind of mindset that we're gonna like feed and like entertain and have to like live out our lives, you know.
So you seem to be likening it to, you know, we play characters on stage, but you know, we present different characters to the world, you know. I mean, we're who we are, obviously, but you would perform, you know, for your brother in a different way than you would perform for a client, which is different than how you would perform for a friend or your mother, you know. All the different interactions in our world, we kind of have to set ourselves up through the lens of the character's needs, everybody else around that character. That's really so profound.
No way.
Yeah, a lot of mental sort of flexibility and malleability, and being able to adjust like on a dime if we need to.
Exactly. And evaluating yourself, and of course lists like that. Like, yeah, absolutely.
I've been getting like such, you know, different answers from different people. It's sort of fascinating how each individual looks at their experience and looks at their lives. There's a lot of connections, and a lot of ways that they come together, and then just how we process and how we think things through is so individualized. It's really so. Number 5, how have you changed since you graduated from high school? You talked about stubborn. You talked about wanting to, being a learner and loving, learning and wanting to do everything, the best of your ability. So those things could still be true. But how has it changed? How is it?
So I would definitely say that, my faith and my background, my religion, you could say, has definitely played a large role in shedding light on the understanding of many of the questions that I was dealing with in high school at the time. And what I found, thankfully, is that as I've come to understand, one of the things that's most meaningful now to me is living a life that's most pleasing to God, and struggling with living a life that's most pleasing to myself and my own desires. I definitely will say that, many ways in which I've changed. I've been able to learn. I'm still learning, but how to regard others as better than yourself, and not to seek to exalt yourself like an arrogant mind, because as much as I really loved and enjoyed all of our experiences in high school, I had to become aware and check my mind in how I came on stage, how I regarded my fellow classmates, and how I regarded also those I shared the stage with at the time, And the beautiful thing is that it's like such a beautiful atmosphere when we can learn how to regard others as a compassion and a truly a love of God, and share it, rather than having a mind of wanting to serve myself, and also at the same time not considering my fellow classmates, or in the decisions that I make, or even how I think of in my own mind. Of course, I believe in the God of the Bible, the God that the Bible testifies to, God the Father and God the Mother. And in learning so much, I've been able to understand many of the questions that I was dealing with in high school. Of course, as I mentioned about the character, if you think about the many different components of a family, right? You have the father, you have the mother, and you have the children. That makes a complete family.
Mhm.
But each one of them has their own roles. And so when I think about what's changed,
Mhm.
I think when I was in high school, I was really interested in just really like gung ho, do everything like, oh, like that needs to be done. I can do that too. That needs to be done. Oh, maybe I can do that too. Like, and then what ended up happening was, like I was saying, like I didn't even consider ourselves like as a, like in certain aspects, like working together, but so much so like what it was that I could do, and learning about God in the Bible, and then like seeing how we should treat each other with a truly like a humility and a love and respect for each other. That has been like the most impactful in changing me
Mhm.
since high school.
Mhm.
Of course, like I cannot look at myself and say that I'm perfect, but
No.
I'm really thankful to like see that some things have changed, and I'm working, of course, to continue to change myself like this. So
Right. Always trying to become a better version of ourselves. Yeah.
it's been really beautiful.
Okay. Yeah. Number 6. So, what would your adult self now tell your high school self now
Mhm.
to help ease the way?
I would definitely say you do not have to uh, take on the responsibility or so-called responsibility of trying to live up to other people's expectations.
Mm,
Most definitely.
mm, mm.
um, yeah, so much pressure in high school that I felt like, and it's not to like say like to like blame or anything like this, anything like that, but in realizing how much of course care and concern
Mhm.
came from teachers, parents, friends, from everyone.
Mhm.
It was very easy to not understand what was actually the most meaningful, because there were so many different answers at the time. At the time, so I would definitely say that you don't have to live up to those expectations, but then also at the same time, it's okay to make a mistake, and it's okay to like actually that's how you learn. Through failing and making mistakes is actually how you learn. Don't be afraid of failing. There's a saying that goes like, you fail forward, like that kind of
Mhm,
thing.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Um,
True. It's true. I tell the kids all the time. I tell people, we're here to learn, like to experience things and to figure out what works and what doesn't. And while we want some sort of product at the end, we always work towards some sort of product. It's the process, it's the effort. Am I better today than I was yesterday, or better? Do I have more understanding at the end of the class or the end of the rehearsal than I had at the beginning?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
that is what education is about, and especially arts education, because we're like trying so many creative things, and creation is not, it's not a hard and fast rule. We're just trying to put things together that make sense and that entertain people and that touch people. So
Absolutely.
and I think we're gonna probably get back to that idea as well. Question 7. And I do feel like you had sort of touched on it, but I'm going to see if you have a different answer. So, what is something that you're grappling with now?
That's
That's a
a
hard question.
yeah, it is. It's like so many
So
possibilities.
many things, right?
Yeah.
No.
I think pacing myself.
Mm.
I think making sure that I don't develop a mindset that like, excuse me, that I have to get everything right away.
Mhm.
Um, I guess like for a long time, like my mentality was like I had to get everything right away in the beginning.
Mhm.
Um, but now I've learned more so that it's better to take steps and then also not judging myself. I, it's like it's so comforting to know that I don't have to judge myself, right? Because I mean, of course, we want to do good things, and of course, we don't want to do bad things. That's pretty straightforward. But at the same time, understanding that I had mentioned earlier, making mistakes and then being willing to accept constructive criticism or like correction, especially from those who love you and stuff. And it's hard because like we're like really stubborn and arrogant and hard-headed sometimes. So like it's very hard for something to come in.
But I think it matters who the criticism is coming from and in what spirit the criticism.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If it's a criticism but without judgment of you, if it's saying, so this is what went wrong, and this is how maybe you can consider fixing it, that's very different than just being criticized.
Absolutely. Thankfully, that realization helped me understand that I don't have to judge myself. And then if I can have like a sense of self-awareness, like a non-judgmental self-awareness, then how much better would it be for me to make effort to try to change myself. So
and filtering the people with good criticism from the people with less good criticism, less valuable criticism.
Of course, yeah, exactly.
And not letting that emotionally impact you. Number 8. Tell me one thing you miss about your high school self and one thing that has gotten better from high school.
Maybe this one is not as deep as all the other ones, but how I used to dress. I used to so and maybe in this sense it has gotten a little better, but maybe it hasn't. I don't know. So like I used to have a lot of fun. I would like wear like there would be some days where I would wear like highlighter neon yellow sneakers with like navy blue pants and like maroon t-shirt, whatever was comfortable, right? But then there were some days where I'd come in with like 3-piece suit, bow tie, handkerchief.
It wasn't as practical as we are now.
Exactly. Oh man, that's awesome. So I think that that aspect was something that I miss about high school, like
fashion sense.
Yeah. But then I think let's see, one thing that has gotten better. Let me see. One thing that's gotten better. My relationship with my mom has gotten a lot better. Right. Because it's that I remember in high school, that was really like a really big struggle for me. I never understood my mom's point of view. And, of course, that time, 17, 18, it's like a wildfire, you know what I mean? And so I didn't understand at the time my mom's point of view. She wanted what was best for me, regardless of if it was what I wanted to hear. And she, even though I was so stubborn to fight against it, she still loved me. She was still patient with me. Like I felt like she had that, like, okay, you'll realize, soon enough. But nonetheless, she's still really like supportive. Even in the times when she didn't understand, even when she came to understand, she was like, wow, I didn't know that extracurriculars were like something that was good for your education and stuff like that. And I'm really thankful, but it's gotten so much better now. Even when I went away to college, and then she, that distance apart made us appreciate each other.
And you matured too. Your brain developed too. That happened.
Yeah, like I think I've learned that like mothers are like so amazing, and like they're like, like if you even think about it, even in nature, like you always see like how the mother would risk her life just for that little, cub or little baby or whatever it is. Mothers are truly special, and I think we should like definitely appreciate them more.
Well, for all mothers out there, I thank you.
Yes, from all mothers out there, I thank you. Absolutely. You mothers are like really, really, truly special. And that's gotten so much better in my relationship with my mother. Really thankful for that.
That's great. That's everything, man.
Yeah.
When kids and parents can, coexist and understand and appreciate each other, even if they're different, even if they have different thoughts about things, it's like, okay, you hold my heart, I hold your heart, we're good. Yeah. Okay. So this is where you get to wax poetic, perhaps. If you could give a piece of sage advice to high school students now, what would it be?
That's a good question.
Had two good answers so far, and they were actually quite similar. So I'm curious to see which direction you go.
Wow. Okay. I'm in a direction now.
Okay.
I'm in a direction now. Okay. I would say, wow.
Can I tell you something before you
Yes,
answer?
absolutely.
Emily had the exact same. She was like, she laughed. She's like, I would say.
We're a married couple, right?
And then she would laugh again. It would I should show you the clip. It's hilarious.
A piece of sage advice to high school students now: humble yourself and listen to your mother. That's all I got.
Simple.
I need to say much more than that.
No, you don't, actually. You really don't. That encapsulates it right now. Humble yourself. Listen to your mother. Yes. Remember that, people.
Yes, please.
Your mother knows. Oh, I love that. Okay. So question 10 really has nothing to do with high school and has everything to do with self-care. So I want you to tell me 3 self-care practices that you do to center yourself, to regulate yourself, to bring you back to a more mindful place.
I got one. Let me see. Okay. I'm thinking of 2 others.
We'll start with the first one.
Okay.
And then often what happens, you start talking and then the others kind of like pop up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first one definitely, and this goes back to my faith. Number 1 is like the Sabbath day. It's a day of spiritual rest that God gives to his people. And that definitely is like one of the most important things as far as like self-care is concerned. And that's when we come before God and he cleanses us, he makes us holy and makes us he blesses us like this. That's one. Number 2, I would definitely say is take a day off. We're good at this. I was never good at knowing how to or allowing myself how to take a day off. And of course that's like that's individualized, like I don't, there has to be like a time where you allow yourself to have downtime, because of course we always want to be productive and we want to get things done. And for me, sometimes like relaxing a little bit, like I feel like a guilty conscience, like, hey, you know what I mean? Yeah, right. So take a day off and then spend quality time with your family. Like my mom, my brothers at work, but then also sometimes outside of work is necessary. is necessary too. So
it's all good. That's amazing. You definitely shared some valuable insights. I came up with these questions when I came up with the idea. I was like, what can I ask them that's gonna like tie it all together? And I think I came up with 10 good questions, because I ask it and people go, like they have to really think hard about it. I am grateful for your participation, for your sharing of yourself and giving of yourself. Back then in 2011 to 2015 and now and in all of the time in between, because you and I have sort of stayed connected and kept trying to come back to each other. And so in Emily's interview, we talked about Green Street.
Yep, she told me.
You gotta bring that back somehow. You gotta find a way to bring that back. Even though now you're eating chicken wings, but
now when we do taco night, we can just do taco night.
We don't have to do impossible tacos.
Now we can just do taco night.
That's right.
Emily's here. Come.
Hi, Emily. Episode 2. I thank you once again, and I'm excited that we had this conversation. And join me next week for episode 4, whoever that's going to be. Yay! No.